key problem, which many, at least in political realism, has recognized, is that the peacetime alliances obviously becomes very destabilizing. It perpetuates conflicts because it relies on the structure of peacetime alliances often means that the dominant state, in this instance the United States, often becomes reliant on conflicts because then allies become more dependent while adversaries can be weakened. Which is why, for example, it's often seen as favorable if there's some conflicts between India and China, because then the Indians have to subordinate themselves a bit to the NATO states, while the Chinese, we gain a powerful adversary against the Chinese. So peacetime alliance has always been recognized to be very problematic. Now, what argues there's a possibility for a different peace at the moment, because the peace which was based after the Cold War, it has come to an end. I don't want to demonize too much this idea of Pax Americana, which was attempted, because the main idea, if there was an American hegemon, this would reduce the power competition in the rest of the international system, much like the US leadership in Europe helped to reduce power competition among European states. And also I think it was a genuine attempt to elevate the role of democracy and human rights in the international system. But the problem is, over time, as many predicted in the 90s, the hegemon would begin to weaken. A lot of the resources would go from the core to the periphery. You would see then economic decline, economic disparity. You would have then political and social instability, political polarization. Again, a lot of what we see today. And while the US would get weaker within, you would see new rival powers emerging, because a hegemon can only maintain itself if rival powers are kept down. So you would then see all these powers starting to connect economically in order to balance the United States. And this is, we'll look at BRICS with Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now plus 5 more states. This is a key objective, which is to diversify economic connectivity to reduce the power of the United States. Now, at the face of it, this might seem like a challenge to the US, but I wouldn't say that it's anti-American. I would say that it's anti-hegemonic. And many of these countries, if not all, would have welcomed the US as one of the poles of power in the international system, but they reject it to be the dominant. And I think that it's also time to recognize that this is not a durable economic model either. And indeed, what we're now seeing is once the world now becomes multipolar, it also has many benefits. We see, as I mentioned, there's more economic connectivity, which then produces peace. So instead of this peacetime alliances, which is dependent often on perpetuating conflicts, we see now economic incentives for promoting peace. Which is why, if you look at a lot of the main developments, economic connections taking place also in the physical economy, but also financial, we see that it's promoted, well, for example, by BRICS. And then there's an interest in reducing conflicts. So just as a case study, look at the new member states of BRICS. They didn't build it on an alliance system. They brought in not either the Iranians or the Arabs as rivals. They brought in Iran as well as Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. They brought in both Egypt and Ethiopia. So they brought in the conflicting sides, also already having India and China, obviously. And then there's economic incentives for peace. So connecting their industries, the technology center, building physical corridors, new development banks, new payment systems, trading in own currencies. So across the board, we see now that with this economic connectivity, there's a real chance for promoting real peace. So I think this definitely is something that the United States should be a part of instead of opposing, as the hegemonic model has already come to an end. And as JFK would argue, this Pax Americana model should not have been the model pursued to begin with. Sorry for the long answer, by the way.
Thank you very much.